Welcome back. Today you're gonna find out about our top 3 healers in the current state of the game and also a touch of history, I would say, like all time, because it has to count, right?
Yeah.
It has to count. It's all about the gameplay, the fun elements, the mechanics, all of that. And we know healing is not in the best place right now, but that doesn't count, all right? So we're gonna start it off. First off with Flame. What? Flame? First healer.
The first healer that I like and the one that actually really surprised me in the War Within and started all the way from beta was the Holy Paladin.
Holy Paladin!
Which is weird because it has a very confusing gameplay and playstyle and design, because I know we talked about, you know, the caster. Oh, I kind of wish the caster and the melee is not really fully melee. It's kind of like an in-between. And it feels like, somehow kind of feels like they don't know what they want to do with it, because it's the same with Mistweaver. They kind of fused this, I'm gonna punch you and still heal you, and in case of the Holy Paladin, I'm gonna hit you with the sword and still heal you and still cast. So we don't know exactly what's going on. It's just like all a big melting pot. But the fun part is that it's responsive and explosive, and that's really cool.
And flashy.
Oh,
it's a paladin.
Dude, when you put Beacon of Virtue on and you start healing, just see like on everybody, it's really cool. Plus, I just like the Paladin fancy way more, and I wanted to have a healer for the War Within, and after going through all of them, it felt like Holy Paladin was kind of the most different, since the new playstyle took away the Tears Deliverance, and I think it's Hand of Divinity or whatever it was, the 2 caster abilities that you have to cast for like 5 seconds before.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised, you know, you went for the Holy Paladin, and I'm gonna agree with you just because of the historical factor for it. Yeah. I don't necessarily mesh that well with the quote-unquote new Holy Paladin,
sure,
but I still understand its appeal. I mean, it still retains that core fantasy of the melee healer up front, you know, getting all of that melee damage in, and when it's time to go ham, it shows and it feels, and you know, the meaty impact of those heals are second to none. So I can totally get you. Why would you put it? And I will agree with you for that top 3.
It's really, like I can see where you would have problems with it, because it doesn't have like a foundational flavor. I don't know what the design intent is that the devs have for Holy Paladin. I don't think they know either, but it's fine as long as it's fun, and it is fun, and it brings all that Paladin utility, that Paladin power, the immunes, the dispels, the
sacrifice.
Yeah, it feels, and this season it just feels like they're oh my god, they're so good, especially when you play with pugs. Oh, you fucked up, lay on hands, baby. Plus with the class talent rework that they got, where lay on hands is a legit defensive cooldown. Yes. That is really cool. It feels like they add more and more depth to it, but some of the depth feels like, you know, when you go out on a hike and you're all hungry and everybody has like a tomato, one dude has a carrot, one dude has a piece of meat, and you just like throw it all in one big pot. It doesn't make any sense, but it somehow tastes good, right?
It has a good taste. Yeah.
That's kind of how Holy Paladin feels right now.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, and then we can move on. Is it like, compared to other healers, is it super complicated? Is it rough? Does it have like a lot of things to be aware of, tracking stuff, all of that? How does it play in the sense for a beginner? Let's say
it's not complicated, but it has a bunch of stuff that only work in specific combinations. So for instance, you have your regular, I build Holy Power with my Crusader Strike or Holy Shock, or even Holy Light and Flashlight right now, which is really good. They all build up Holy Power. That's finally good.
Yeah.
You have different builds where you can focus more on Holy Light or Flash of Light. But where it starts to get a little bit more difficult to play, I wouldn't say complex, because it's easy to understand what works, but you really need to start your combo right. Popping Wings and Beacon of Virtue is easy. Everybody knows that. Yeah. But then you have Holy Prism. You have to have an Infusion of Light, and then you have to have Beacon of Virtue, and then you have to have somebody that's low on HP, and then you have to like pop a bunch of sequence. And if somebody fucks up in the middle of this sequence and you need an extra dispel, an emergency bop, and you're like, oh shit, I was supposed to heal this, and then the Beacon of Virtue window is gone, and they're like, everybody's sorry.
Chaos!
It feels like if you fall behind, it's a lot to come back to, because once your cooldowns drop, once your cooldowns drop, it takes a very long time to bring everybody up. Like all of your naked heals don't really do much.
Right. So Holy Paladin retains this very much reliability on cooldowns.
Yeah, and it's a high skill cap, and it feels rewarding when you get it right. It's like, oh my god, look at, I'm fucking exploding on the HPS meter, and that's kind of like an appeal, because once you get it right, you're like, oof. Oh yes! Oh, I got it. That feels so good. That's the appeal that I have.
Okay, fair enough. It's, I mean, if it's punishing, maybe not the most recommended to
Probably not. I wouldn't recommend.
Yeah, if you're like thinking about getting into healing, maybe Prot Paladin would not be the first choice. Right?
Not Prot Paladin, definitely Holy Paladin. But as long as you like,
I say Holy Paladin. Okay,
that goes a long way into you learning a spec. It's fine if you want to start with it. Just know that it's probably gonna take a while and it's probably gonna hurt.
All right. Second healer on the list after Holy Paladin would definitely be Discipline Priest. Why you ask? Because it's the best healer in the whole wide world. It has the coolest mechanics. It's very reliable. Has shit to spot healing, although it has been buffed a little bit, so now it could be better on spot healing. Listen, you have to play Discipline Priest. It's not recommended for beginners. I will say that. Okay,
yeah,
I'll just rip it right off the bat. It's not beginner friendly because it's very different, right? You have to have targets in order to heal. Okay, you have to deal damage to targets in order to heal. When you lock that mechanic down, it's the most rewarding thing ever. Can be frustrating at times because in specific dungeons you finish up with a pack and the whole party is at 20% HP. You have nothing to hit. It's gonna be really tough to get them back for the next pack. But that kind of like feeds into itself, sort of, because like once you get into it, at least you have something to prepare for. One of the coolest things about Discipline Priest is the fact that as opposed to like some other healers who are more reactive, you really have to know your dungeons. You really have to know your raids, your raid mechanics and stuff in order to prepare. Discipline Priest is not a reactive healer. It does have reactive buttons, sure, but they're not as efficient as reactive buttons from, I don't know, Resto Shaman or Holy Priest in that capacity. So you always have to prepare, and in order to prepare, you have to know what mechanics are in each pack, each boss, each raid encounter. That's how you become a good discipline. And once you get that down, man, the fantasy of it, like weaving in light and shadow spells all of the time, just having this contribution, like real contribution to your team by dealing damage, and while you do that, you see their HPs go up and up and up.
Oh yeah,
it's a beautiful thing. Plus,
about I was gonna ask you. Let's take an encounter that you know is gonna happen, like Stonewall, the rock boss, when he goes into the shield, and you know everybody's gonna take damage.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you prep for that?
Yeah,
how's your rotation there?
Obviously, you know, you get your Mind Blast up and running. Then you pop your little Fiend over there. You make sure before that, you make sure everybody is attuned up. So attunement is like the bread and butter of Discipline Priest. You either do that with power Radiance, or you do that manually by shielding them, Flash of Lighting them. You make sure you have your attunements ready. You pop your Mind Blast. You go for your Fiend, and then like, if that happens, basically all styles are aligned to like just go ham. And once you do that, you have your playing Void Weaver. Obviously, you basically spam your smite, which is now Void Blast, and also make sure you throw in that penance. And that weave of spell just gets everybody going. Like when huge AoE damage comes in, that is so efficient. And if that doesn't pop the cake, you can always go for uppies, right? So uppies is like one of the coolest, like visually coolest thing they could have ever put down for.
You do sacrifice your life for it though.
You do, yeah. Like it's a gamble, it's a risk, right? But you can use that as well to like get everybody up. And obviously, if that doesn't work, let's say we're talking about a 12 or 13, right? That's really, really rough. You can go for your dome,
that's so good.
Yeah, it's very good. Like 20% damage reduction, right? You have 2 charges of pain suppression. Pain suppression is a 40% damage reduction button. Most commonly used on tanks, but can also be used on the DPS.
It's better than almost all Prot Paladin's defensive.
Yeah, you also have Rapture as well, which is like it's not like a panic button necessarily. You use that more to get like instant attunements, like 4 instant attunements on all players. And that goes like the cooldown for all of these that I just mentioned, apart from like uppies, are really, really low. Like you can just, you know, as soon as you play and you weave in all of your proper rotation, you get back your Mind Blast, you get back your Fiend, and you always have this loop of playing all the time. And I love it. You always have like ideally in 95% of the cases you have the cooldowns ready for the next ramp. And
I gotta say, I've always loved this part of Discipline Priest, because Discipline Priest has been through multiple iterations since personally I started picking it up back in BFA, early BFA. and I'm glad that it's back to most of its healing coming from Atonement, because it just feels different. It just feels like, oh, I'm there, I'm kind of like a Shadow Priest, but not really, but I'm actually healing everybody up. And I do have to say, one of my favorite things when playing a healer, and it definitely happens with Discipline, is when you set everything up and you see all the green numbers on the screen.
Yeah, just and you also deal damage while doing that. This is the cool part of it.
Oh, that's so good, because it's a nice refreshing break from Holy Paladin where I'm just locked in on everybody's frames. Oh, you. It's like whack-a-mole on HP bars, but with Discipline, you're just like Radiance, and then you're just like, you motherfucker, you hurt my party, so I'm gonna get you.
It's
and that's
awesome.
really awesome.
It is. This is why for me it's like the best healer of all time. There's hands down no problem. The last on our top three is one we both agree with 100%.
Oh yeah,
and it has weight for the current game, but it also has weight historically, right? What is it?
It's such a bittersweet choice, because normally I would have gone for Resto Shaman, but it's the other Resto actually.
Resto Druid.
It's the Druid, because so here's the thing, right? Druid is probably, if not definitely, the class with the worst class talent tree. It feels terrible to want to build your Druid and to feel like, oh, I want this side, but I need to go that side. I have to waste 5 talent points to get all of that. But that aside, dude, they've nailed the gameplay, man. Cat weaving is back, and
I love that.
And there's actually very, like, what they've done to the Druid spec tree, like, you might like it or not, but it feels like you have different ways of playing. You can have a regrowth focused playstyle, you can have a rejuvenation focused playstyle that changes how you cat weave, and then you can, if you play a regrowth focused playstyle, you can just have like big fat regrowth that just fill up people's HP bars, and you have these little, it's kind of like being on roids, man. Just when you pop all of your stuff and you have Nature Swiftness and you do one big Soul of the Forest regrowth up on the tank, and then you do another one, and then just like blast and blast and blast. It doesn't last for very long, but in high octane situations, when you've set up all of your hots, it feels like you can just go. It's kind of like a candle burning on both ends, but as long as the encounter ends before the candle burns out, you can dish out some crazy HPS numbers.
I saw it, and this is one of the biggest reasons we had to put Resto Druid in our top 3. Also because it has better reactive tools, but it's still a very much proactive healer. Like, you have to set up all of your hots when you know shit is about to hit the fan. And this is what I loved about it. On top of the fact that its fantasy really shines over there. Like, you feel as a druid, like you feel in touch with the nature. All of those healings with the leaves and all, like, this is like, I know it's geeky and nerdy.
The fantasy is there, for sure.
It's geeky and nerdy, man, but that's what, like, when I first tried it out, this is what I was getting into. I was like, I really want to feel that, and I did. And the gameplay just being kind of similar to Discipline in the sense that you have to be prepared, you have to know everything in advance in order to do well. But again, I will mention better reactive buttons for situations that get shitty, but also it's very mobile. Now, listen, as a priest, you're not that mobile at all. That feather doesn't mean shit. But I love the fact that you can, like, if you're a proper Resto Druid, you know when shit hits the fan, you prep everything up, everybody's hotted up, you know, those gonna take for like the whole AoE damage. Cat weaving then becomes a beauty. And it used to be very stressful in the past.
If you can master, if you can master wild charge as a Resto Druid, you're mobile as fuck. Like, jumping to allies, jumping to targets, jumping behind targets, depending on your shapeshifting form. And the cool part about it is that, funnily enough, it's a very good combination between Discipline and Holy Paladin. You have the knowledge that you need to prep things up, but you also have the reactive combos that you need to go with.
You have that, yes.
Oh, you took damage. Oh, you took damage. Not to mention that, although, you know, we know the meta, Druid is a really good healer in this meta with the Curse Dispels, with the Souls that can really save a tank. Like, a lot of tanks are probably not used to, you know, going into Grimbo Toll and being hit by the Enforcers or the Overseers and not getting soothed. Like, once you soothe them, they're like, so good. It's so much good. Well, oh, right, I have a Resto Druid in my party.
It's so good. But yeah, there you have it. So our top 3 healers, like, for the current game and through all out history, more or less, would be Holy Paladin, Discipline Priest, and Restoration Shaman. But
or Druid, but Shaman is also nice.
You got me, man. You got me.
It's fine. Resto Shaman was close in making it to the list. We're sad that it didn't make it.
I was also thinking about putting Holy Priest as well there, because as much as I, you know, love much more Discipline, it has an appeal. But maybe that would be.
It has a fancy. There are runner-ups for sure, but as it stands right now, funnily enough, these are not very easy healers to get into.
it's true. They're not very easy to get into, but I feel like once you give yourself some time to invest in learning these specs, they're so sad. All three of them.
And it's so hard to get bored. Like I personally love Resto Shaman a lot, but it gets boring after a while.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm leveling mine through healing, and you know it's cool and all, but I can definitely see why I'm missing my disco and all of that. But that's not important. What is important is you tell us what are your top 3, and it could be from the current game, it could be like all time, it can be a mix between these, but we're really curious. So just let us know in the comments what are your top 3 healers. And hey, you can watch some other videos like our tier list over here that addresses some of the things you didn't expect to, like what?
Like damage and tanking and healing. I don't know which tier list is up because we record these ahead of time.
And it's on his face, so click it. Yay!